Went too far on a girls' trip, came back to a husband who knew everything.
The things we sometimes do because we feel pressured or we want to please friends really get us in serious trouble. I don't even know what had come over me that day, but I made a little mistake that cost me my man. Worst part, I don't even know the main reason he suddenly lost attraction to me. Imagine being told in the face that he had lost attraction to me after one silly mistake. I know I shouldn't have done it. I wished I had done things differently, but I couldn't. I lost him because of my stupidity. You know, sometimes trying to make people happy or seeking validation from other people, including your friends or family, may sometimes lead you in hot water, and you might lose yourself in the process, plus your happiness. Imagine losing someone who you had thought you would live your happily ever after and grow old together, suddenly loses interest in you. I know someone might have been through what I had gone through. Please let me know how you dealt with it without losing yourself in the process. So this is how my story goes. I, female 24, met my boyfriend Alex, male 28, at a festival that was happening in Times Square. Well, he saw me with my girls since I was going with them. He asked one of my friends, they had already known each other from high school, to join them as he was also going with his friends. When Polly, my friend, came to us and told us that her high school mate had asked us to join them where they were, we said, why not? The more the merrier, right? We went to join them and we had so much fun. As much as I was an outgoing person, but I was not bubbly like my friends were. I was kind of shy, especially when chilling with strangers. So Alex introduced the guys and himself and vice versa. I won't lie and say it was not epic because it was lit. I enjoyed chilling with Alex and his friends. They were funny and full of life. So after like a few hours, Alex asked to speak to me on the side because our friends were too loud. I had already seen the way he would steal a glance at me if he wanted to say something. Alex is a very handsome and charming guy. I had been looking at him throughout the whole festival up until he asked me on the side. My heart was beating so fast because I didn't know why he wanted to speak to me on the side and what he wanted to talk about. As charming as he was, Alex looked like those guys who would date a girl just for intimacy and dump them after he is teary of you or had found someone else better. I agreed to speak to him. Well, more like him speaking to me because he was the one who asked me on the side. He started by complimenting me and telling me that he would like to see me again after the festival and it would be just the two of us. Yes, he was charming and all that, but I didn't trust him. I couldn't trust him. I mean, I had just met him in like 2 seconds, and already he wanted to take me on a date. That was a very bad move for him. I opted to give him my number. I couldn't go out with him the day after I had seen him once. What if he was a serial killer, so it was a better option for me to start getting to know him over the phone and to see what kind of a person he was before meeting up with him alone? I mean, a lot of things were and still are happening on this earth that we live in, so I couldn't risk it. 2 days later, he texted me and we started chatting a lot. I found out that he was actually a very good and humble guy. Yes, he looked like what we call a playa, but looks can be deceiving. And he was, what I must say, do not judge a book by its cover. His handsome and charming self didn't mean he was a playa. From there, we got close, we became friends, and he was smart too. I found out that when I met him, he was 22 years old while I was just 18 years old. He was already in college and I was in my last year in high school. Alex was funny and all that, not to forget that he was also romantic. He knew how to treat a woman, I can give him that. So after some months of getting to know each other, we both couldn't hold the way we were feeling for each other. So he confessed his feelings for me and we took it from there. A relationship was formed, though Polly was kind of against it and told me Alex would leave me once he is enough of me or he no longer felt attracted to me. I thought she was just jealous of my relationship with Alex, but turned out she was just looking out for me. And that time, I had cut off our friendship. I don't want to lie. I regret not taking Polly's advice. But what's done is done, right? We had been dating for 3 years, and everything had been perfect. Alex was handsome, charming, and kind, and I had fallen deeply in love with him. But on that fateful night, I had let my guard down and made a mistake that would haunt me for weeks to come. So my friends and I had planned a girls' getaway trip. We just wanted to have fun and be away from home for the weekend. I was living with my parents in Bryanston and would go to Alex's apartment every now and then. Our relationship was a bliss. We were happy and so much in love. I don't really know the real reason why he suddenly got unattracted to me, because I knew that my small mistake that I had made was not going to make him lose interest in me all of a sudden. The way our relationship looked promising and too perfect. I had hoped that we would end up together forever. I had even introduced him to my parents, and my mother loved him so much. They treated him like their own son, but I guess I had introduced him way too soon. The girls and I went to Dubai for our weekend getaway. We had so much fun. The trip was everything that I had hoped for: sun, sand, and endless fun. But on the third night of our trip, I made a little mistake. So we got other friends there who were also on a holiday, so we joined parties and we had epic fun. No one was guarding anyone. We were all old enough to take care of ourselves, so I had too many drinks. While Alex, on the other hand, had started stressing me out, he had been acting a bit off and cagey. I didn't know what was going on with him, because if I asked him, he would just blow. I had thought he was going through something serious, so he needed to deal with it alone, so I gave him some space and time alone. Time passed, and his behavior got worse, to a point that we would argue a lot. I had suspicions that he was cheating, because whenever I would go to his apartment, he would just act weird or go out with his friends. It was like I was dating his apartment furniture because he was never home. Even our intimacy had started slacking. He would suddenly lose interest during the moment. The trip with the girls really helped me unwind and forget about Alex's issues that he didn't want to share with me. So as we were in Dubai, the group of friends that we had found there were actually there to celebrate one of their friends' birthday party. So they asked us to join them. Some of them were going with their girlfriends, while others were going alone. I missed Alex so much, but I couldn't let him and his issues ruin my weekend getaway. So I pushed everything back and lived in the moment. I had too many drinks, and I was feeling carefree and silly, and before I knew it, I was dancing on the table, singing at the top of my lungs. The guys were laughing and cheering me on, and I loved the attention I was getting. I was letting my wild and happy self loose a little. As I was busy dancing and having fun, I saw this guy by the bar of the club that we were in. He had piercing blue eyes and a charming smile. He was standing at the bar, watching me with interest, and I couldn't help but feel drawn to him. I knew it was wrong, but I couldn't resist. He kept looking at me with his sexy eyes. I decided to stop dancing and catch my breath, so I went to the bar to get water because I was too sloshed. He came over to the side where I was getting my cold water, and he introduced himself as Michael. He was even more charming when you looked at him closer. I didn't believe him because I knew myself that when it came to dancing, I had 2 left feet. But I managed to make a plan and move my body whenever I am in the moment or tipsy or drunk. I don't remember much of what we talked about, but I do remember feeling alive and carefree for the first time in months. It was exhilarating, and I couldn't help but wonder what it would be like to be with Alex. But as soon as the thought crossed my mind, I felt a pang of guilt. I knew I was with Alex and I loved him. It was just that he was going through some things. I don't remember much of what went down. The next morning, I woke up full of regrets, a hangover and a sense of dread. I knew I had made a mistake, and I couldn't bear the thought of telling Alex what had happened. I knew that I had betrayed Alex's trust, and I was terrified of how he would react if he was to find out. I tried to push the thought out of my mind and enjoy the rest of the trip, but I just couldn't shake off the feeling of guilt and shame. So as I lay there, I heard a knock at the door. It was Alex, and he looked angry. I was pretty much shocked because I had left Alex behind. I wondered how he got to Dubai. I asked what he was doing there. Instead of answering, he just slapped me. He was fuming. I had never seen Alex being angry like that ever since we had started dating. He asked me what had happened the previous night. I got puzzled because I didn't know nor remember what he was talking about. So I asked him what he was talking about. He started throwing tantrums at me and demanding the truth out of me. So I told him that the girls and I went to the club, and we saw a group of guys with their girlfriends who invited us to join their party, as they were celebrating one of their friends' birthdays. But I left the handsome guy's situation aside because I knew he would just blow out and things would get out of hand. I tried changing the topic to something else. I asked why he came all the way from New York to Dubai, and who told him that we were at the guest house. I started interrogating him because it showed that someone had told him where we were and what had gone down the previous night. So I needed to know who the snitch was because I knew that it was one of the girls. There was no way someone from the group we were chilling with would have had time to make live videos and post them on social media with our location. It didn't make any sense. Alex asked me to tell him the real truth, or he would find it out himself, and I shouldn't even try to change the topic. I knew there and then that I had to come clean, even if it would ruin a lot of things, but I had to. He took out his phone and showed me a video of me dancing on the club's table. It was so embarrassing to watch myself dancing like a loose girl. I knew I had been caught, and I couldn't deny it. I took a deep breath and told him everything, from the moment we went to the club to when I saw the stranger and to the moment I woke up on that morning. Alex listened to me, his face growing more and angrier with each passing word. When I finished, he stood up and paced the room, his hands shaking with rage. He asked me questions I didn't even know how to answer because surely, if I were to answer them, he would get more furious and maybe do something he would regret someday. I know that Alex had anger and trust issues which were caused by his parents, but I had thought he had changed since he had gone to therapy, but you would never know with people who knew how to pretend as if everything was well. He asked why I did what I did to him, and that he thought him and I had something special going on, but he didn't think he would be able to trust me again, after what I had done. Those words pierced through my heart. I didn't have any comeback or response because my heart was really broken by his words. I knew that I had messed up big time, and there was no chance that our relationship would have survived that situation. The chances were like 0.1% to nothing, and there was nothing I would have done. I knew I had hurt and disappointed him, and I felt a deep sense of remorse. I begged him to forgive me and promised to never do anything like that again. But even as I said the words, I knew they were hollow. I had made a mistake, and there was no taking it back. I hated the person who took the video of me dancing over the club's table, and I knew that I had to find out who it was, because with their forward tendencies, they had destroyed my relationship with Alex. I also had to find the person who told him the guest house we had booked in. I thought I had friends who would have my back no matter what, but I had snakes, and I realized that very late. Over the next few weeks, Alex distanced himself from me. He stopped answering my calls and texts, and I knew he was punishing me for my mistake. I tried to reach out to him, but he wouldn't have it. During those weeks, I had found out who had sent the guest house's location and a video of me dancing over the table to Alex. Well, one of the girls that I had thought were friends had sent it to Polly, my ex-friend. And Polly, because she was the one who had Alex's numbers, she had forwarded it to him just to spite me. I just couldn't believe it. I thought the girls had my back, but clearly they didn't. Instead, they were backstabbers. I also found out that one of the girls was jealous of my relationship with Alex because she had a crush on him back in high school since they had gone to the same high school. But Alex never paid attention to her. And she was not Polly's friend at that time, so her jealousy and envy made her think of destroying my relationship with Alex just because of a crazy love crush. After weeks of begging and trying to reach out to Alex, he finally called me back. I was happy and hopeful, thinking that he was finally getting back to himself and he had forgiven me. You know, I had that hope that says, relax, since he had reached out to you, it meant something good, not knowing that my hope and faith was deceiving me. I had hoped for nothing because he asked to meet up with me, well, more like he invited me to his apartment, not knowing that he wanted to drop a very huge and destroying bomb. So I went there with confidence. I even shaved my nana and bought new lingerie, thinking it was going to be a meeting to kiss and make up everything. My heart was full of hope that I was getting my man back, despite what my jealous ex-friend had done. When I got there, he didn't look happy to see me as I was, but I brushed that off, thinking I had come when he had just woken up. I knew that he would get grumpy when he woke up and didn't feel like talking to anyone, so I understood. He appreciated that I had honored his invitation. Then he told me that we had to talk. My heart was pounding out of my ribcage. I got suddenly scared of what he wanted to say. He didn't even beat around the bush. He just told me straight to my face that he had lost attraction to me ever since he received the video of me dancing on top of the table in the club, and the thing that I had told him about the guy that I saw at the club. He said a lot of heartbreaking words. I tried apologizing and begging him to give me another chance to right my wrongs. But he just bluntly told me that he couldn't, and he wouldn't be with a person who didn't respect herself. I admit I did wrong and went all nasty with the guy I saw at the club, but we didn't even go far or made out. The only thing I did with him was kissing him and touching him here and there, nothing more. And as for dancing on top of the table, I was just letting loose and having fun, but all that cost me my man. One stupid night and one stupid mistake that I made when I was sloshed took away my love from me. How can one silly night take away my 3 years relationship? I wished I didn't go to that girl's weekend getaway, but I wanted to rewind because Alex was also distant and didn't want to speak with me sometimes. I was stressed about him to the point that I drank all my sorrows away. I wanted to forget about the way he was treating me even though I was his girlfriend. As much as I was wrong, I blamed him for everything that I had done, because if he was not stressing me out, I wouldn't have made the mistake that I did. After he said everything that he wanted to say, I went back home with a very heavy, broken heart. I was so devastated. I had never felt so low in my life. I felt like I had disappointed myself and ruined my own life. I had always been the perfect girlfriend, always putting my boyfriend's needs before my own. And I couldn't understand why he would just throw me away like that, like I had never meant anything to him, or our relationship never meant anything to him. I felt like I had lost a part of myself, like I was missing a limb. How can one mistake ruin my chance to love like this? I couldn't believe that the person I had loved so much had just dumped me like a used teabag. I was in real denial. I couldn't get myself to accept that I had lost Alex. So after a few days, I tried to reach out to my ex-boyfriend to try to understand what had happened and why he had broken up with me, but he just ignored me. He had blocked me on all social media and wouldn't answer my calls or texts. It was like he had disappeared from my life completely, and that shattered me to the core. A few weeks passed, and I was left alone to pick up the pieces of my shattered heart. I spent days in bed, unable to eat or sleep, just staring at the ceiling and wondering what I had done wrong. I felt like I was drowning in my own tears, like I was suffocating under the weight of my own grief. My parents were worried about me because they were taking turns on checking if I was still okay. It was just too much to bear. I couldn't even face my own parents. I felt like the shame of a mistake I had made was written on my forehead, and the whole world was seeing what I had done. I was slowly sinking into depression. I had no friends, no boyfriend. I was just me. I had cut all of the friends I had because I couldn't trust them anymore. I didn't know who to and not to trust anymore because they had shown me that they were not real friends that one could rely on, but they were poisonous snakes that would bite you and leave you with a very huge scar and a deadly poison in your system that would eat all your body cells and destroys them bit by bit until you were left with nothing, then you would die. Those were the friends I had. 2 weeks of feeling sorry for myself and closing myself in my bedroom, I then decided to wake up and stop having a pity party for myself because it was not going to unbreak my heart, nor bring back Alex, or undo the mistake that I made. So I began to realize that I needed to get up and move on. I couldn't change the past, but I could control my future. I started by taking care of myself, by eating healthy and exercising regularly. I also started seeing a therapist to help me work through my feelings and come to terms with the breakup. I knew that I had stressed my parents a lot because my mother was no longer herself. She had lost a few kilos, and I felt really bad about that because if I didn't act like I was the first person to be heartbroken and to be dumped, I wouldn't have stressed them like that. Which was also the reason why I had taken the decision to go on a healing journey. Not for myself only, but also my parents. They deserved getting their daughter back. It wasn't easy, but I slowly began to heal. I started to focus on my own needs and desires rather than constantly trying to please my ex-boyfriend. I also started to explore my own interests and hobbies, like painting and hiking, and I discovered a new sense of purpose and joy in my life. I had to heal completely first before I would think of having another guy in my life again. I had to learn a few techniques of controlling temptations and alcohol before I started dating again. Even though it was not going to be like the relationship I had with Alex, I had to move on. The relationship I had with Alex, I used to call it something special and rare because of how we used to be and how we loved each other, but then I blew all that. As the months passed, I began to feel like myself again. I still had moments of sadness and regret, but they were fewer and farther between. I had learned to let go of the past and embrace the present, and I was starting to see a bright future ahead of me. My parents were happy with my improvement, so I decided to start a small business that would help me not to be cooped up in the house the whole day. Since I had qualifications in interior designing, I decided to venture into that business. It was not easy starting it from the start, but I did, with the support I got from my parents. So, as I was still on my healing journey, I started to notice other men looking at me with interest. I had always been confident and outgoing, but now I felt like a shadow of my former self. I was hesitant to date again, fearing that I would only end up hurting someone else. I didn't trust myself fully to be committed to someone else. My heart was still on Alex, but I knew that I had to move on and find love again. So months later, I met a man named Jonathan. He was kind, funny, and handsome, and he seemed to see something in me that no one else had seen in a long time. We started dating, and I found myself falling for him. Jonathan was different from Alex, He wasn't perfect, but he was real. He had flaws and imperfections just like everyone else. And as I got to know him, I realized that I didn't need someone who was perfect. I just needed someone who was real. Someone who would love me for me even with my flaws and imperfections. As the months passed, my relationship with Jonathan grew stronger. We laughed together, cried together, and supported each other through thick and thin. I realized that I had found love again, and that it was possible to move on from my past and find happiness. I had even introduced Jonathan to my parents. Well, my parents were very welcoming and warm-hearted, but my father somehow became overprotective of me ever since I had gone through that depressing stage, which resulted in me almost losing myself and my life. When they say your past always finds a way to catch up on you, or your karma always finds a way to knock on your doorstep? What happened to me during my happy moment was the meaning of those phrases. When you had thought all is well, you had healed, moved on, and finally found true love and happiness, there will always be trials and tribulations that would want to get in the way of your happiness. A year later, after I had even forgotten what had happened in the past, I was happy. My life had finally fallen into place. Thinking I had finally found my happy ending and my business was going well. Jonathan had proposed after a year of us dating. Well, he had tried proposing after a few months on our relationship, but I turned him down, which had led to a very huge argument. Thinking I was stringing him along and I was stuck on my ex-boyfriend, which was kinda true, because I hadn't fully recovered from the breakup, and I still needed more time to learn more about him and learn to love him fully without looking for Alex in him. He didn't talk to me for days until he came back to his senses and allowed me to explain why I had turned down his engagement proposal. Since then, I knew that Jonathan loved me, despite everything and anything. He saw me for me. But then, there are always cockroaches who always try by all means to destroy a good thing. So months after Jonathan had proposed for the second time, someone had decided to just wake up and want to ruin my life. Jonathan showed a video of me dancing on the club's table during the trip that I had taken with my ex-girlfriends. And unbelievably, that person also posted a picture of getting all kinky and naughty with the stranger that I had met in Dubai. My past mistakes were catching up on me really bad. I didn't know what to do. I was truly shocked and surprised by the sudden humiliation that person had done. Jonathan got angry at me for hiding such an incrementing history. He also dumped me and called me a snake because I didn't tell him the whole truth about my past while he had poured everything on me about him and his past. I understood his anger, and he had every right to be, but I couldn't beg him, I couldn't allow myself to nag and beg another guy like I did with Alex, so I told him that if he wanted to leave me like how my ex-boyfriend did, the door was open. The only door that was closed was the door of begging and nagging. So, as much as I somehow wished he had done things differently and didn't leave, but I couldn't, and I didn't stop him from leaving. He told me that he couldn't be with a woman who didn't respect herself, and if he was to stay and try to make things out with me, it was not going to be the same because he would look at me and see the video and a picture of me in Dubai. I knew there and then that all the love, realness, and care was actually fake. I mean, if you love a person, you accept them with their burden and past rights. So why couldn't and why wouldn't he do that? My clients retrenched their contract with me after they had seen the video and a picture. It was another tragic and hardest moment of my life, but I couldn't allow myself to go back to where I was. So I worked very hard to prove that my past mistakes don't define me, my present, and my future. I had already moved out of my parents' house to get my own place since the interior designing business was doing well and making profits. I had learned to forgive myself and move on from things that were hurting me the hard way. So with the money I had on my accounts, I hired a private investigator to investigate who had posted the video and a picture and find out why they would stoop so low to destroy my life. My parents and my business mentor were truly amazing to me. The support they had given me was beyond measure. I would really appreciate them even if I were to take my last breath. So a week later, a private investigator got back to me with the feedback information, and I couldn't believe the person who had posted my picture and a video. Well, it was actually 2 people who did that. For what reason, I also don't know till today. I found out that Alex, my ex-boyfriend, was the one who had leaked the video and wrote the nasty caption about me. Well, I should have known that the video had Alex written all over it. I don't even know how I missed his writing or typing style. He had called me all sorts of names and told the whole world that I had played with his heart and broke it. He even wrote that he had seen a future with me, but my loose self had ruined everything. What caught my eyes more and shut me was the part where he had written about how much of a disgrace in women's species, and he wished me nothing but full of pain and suffering, just like how he had suffered when he found out about my video. That really did a number on me, and people were bashing me, agreeing with what Alex had written. On the other hand, the person who had posted the picture of me getting naughty with the handsome guy from the club was actually my ex-friend, the one who had a crush on Alex. I didn't understand what her problem with me was because she had destroyed me and my relationship once, so why would she want to do the same thing all over again? And the worst part, I had broken up with Alex. Meaning that she had a chance to be with him like she had wished to? My father always told me to stop living to please people and looking for validation in other people, because at the end of the day, when I die, I would die alone, just like how I was born. So giving my attention to what people were saying about me meant I was giving them power over me to destroy me. And if I react to everything they say or post about me, it would mean that I was giving them a platform to keep on hurting me, and they would always win. What my father said to me really helped me think more about my life and that I shouldn't live my life to please people, because a human being never gets satisfied. So if I gave them the platform that they were seeking for in my life, they would continue striking and keep bringing my past to destroy me. As angry and humiliated as I was, I continued running my business. Yes, I had lost clients, but I didn't lose myself this time around. And I vowed to myself to make sure that I elevate instead of going down. They can say whatever they want to say or post whatever they wish to post about me, but I was not going to allow them to take me down. Jonathan had tried to reach out to me after a whole month and asked to meet up with me so we could talk about us and our relationship. I allowed him to come to my house and he started apologizing about the way he reacted and that stupid and lousy excuse. I told him that I was forgiving him, but when it came to our relationship, I didn't think it was going to work out because he had shown me his true colors. He had proved himself to be an unreliable person and that he would always run away whenever things go south, or he finds something about me and my past mistakes, so I was fine alone. Ever since then, I didn't even try to get into any relationships. It had only been me and my parents. And I had been so much at peace and happy. Alex came to see me at my workplace to apologize, but I gave him the same answer that I had given Jonathan. I am now living my life for myself and I am truly happy without any man. My small mistake taught me to look deeper in people before letting them in my life and use the love word. As much as I had done wrong by Alex, do you guys think I took the right decision not to fight for him? Or do you think it was a good idea to let go of Jonathan? Please give me some tips and advice on how I should have dealt with the issues.
I cannot believe my life has gotten to this point. I'm so overwhelmed with emotions right now, and the only way to let it out is write down what happened. I'm a 55-year-old man engaged to a 52-year-old woman for 1 year. My fiancé is a famous model, and I'm a businessman and own a chain of luxury resorts. Around a year ago, I got engaged to my girlfriend. We were about to get married in the next 6 months. But I recently came to know that I've been lied to. All my plans crumbled. I met my fiancé 2 years ago when she was hired by my company to do a photo shoot for our resorts. She was invited to one of the hotel events. I immediately got drawn to her beauty. That's kinda obvious considering she worked as a model for a living. I was seeing someone else at that moment. My then girlfriend was the same age as me. She did not come with me that day to that event. Even though I found my fiancé really attractive, I kept my distance as I was in a relationship. She came and introduced herself to me. We were having wine and her drink spilled on my jacket. She apologized continuously and then came closer to clean it up. She smiled at me all night long. I went home to my girlfriend without giving it much thought. That time, I had been seeing her for more than 2 years and thought we were going to get engaged because I wanted to start a family soon. A lot of my life had already been spent working, and I wasn't getting any younger. A few days later, while we were discussing our friends getting engaged, she told me that she cannot imagine herself getting married. "What do you mean you don't want to get married?" I asked her. She told me that she loves being in a relationship with me, but marriage wasn't on cards for her. I was visibly shocked by her revelation. We have been dating for 2 years. We never discussed marriage specifically, but I thought that's because she wants us to know each other well before committing our life together. We soon ended our relationship as I didn't want to walk on a road which went nowhere. I started seeing my fiancé a lot more as my company had a lot of campaigns starring her. We started running to each other very frequently. She invited me for dinner as an apology for spilling drinks on me. "Don't invite me just because you're apologetic," I told her. We flirted for a bit and then I asked her out on a date.
Hey everyone. Unfortunately, basically everyone who is watching these videos isn't subscribed. It would mean the world to me to quickly get out of the full screen video for 3 seconds and press that subscribe button. It's free and you can unsubscribe anytime. Sorry for bothering and thank you so much if you subscribed.
We enjoyed each other's company and kept on going on dates whenever I was free from work. While we were out on dinner, I told her that even though I enjoyed her company, I didn't want to immediately get into another relationship. I had just come out of one and my work was my priority. "I understand, honey," she told me. I was happy to just date her without any pressure. I did want to get married, but not without love. I was a workaholic, or that's what people told me, but I still believed in love. As time passed, I thought I was finally ready for a relationship and we got together. She moved in my house and we were happy together, or so I thought. Since she was a model, she used to stay in contact with many guys from her industry. Male models, photographers, producers, but I never paid much attention to it because I trusted her and it was related to her job. I was quite preoccupied by my work as well. One evening, we went for dinner. She was in a really gorgeous dress. She seemed extra perky that evening. She shocked me when she told me that she wanted to get married to me. "I feel we are ready," she said with a soft smile on her face. I didn't expect it, but I sort of agreed with her. I got her an engagement ring the next day and we were engaged. I had a good run of luck going. Both my professional and personal life were thriving. I was content after a long time in my life. I came home with my fiancé's favorite flowers, only it wasn't her who opened the door of our home. A young guy who looked like he was in his teens opened the door and looked at me like he didn't know that it was my house he was standing at. "Who are you?" I asked him. He told me that he's my girlfriend's assistant. It felt a bit weird to me because I have never seen this dude around. I asked my girlfriend later how she met this guy. She told me that some agency hired him for her as her previous assistant had resigned. He was 20 years old. I didn't pay much attention to it after that. He used to hang around our home a lot more than I liked, but it was all right. It was a Friday afternoon and I was swamped with work. My fiancé called and asked if we were still going for dinner that evening. I told her I won't be able to get out of the office. She said it's fine and that we can reschedule. I would have done just that, except I felt that I shouldn't be prioritizing my work anymore and give attention to my future wife. I left early for home that day. I thought it's best if I just surprise her with dinner at her favorite restaurant. I used my passcode to let myself in. She wasn't in the living room, so I made my way to the bedroom. Before I could open the door, I heard voices. It was of a male and my fiancé. It was clear they were in bed together. I hid behind the curtains before they opened the door. I saw them coming out of my bedroom. They were laughing together as my blood boiled. She was barely wearing clothes. The furniture was blocking the way, so I couldn't see the guy. I could just see his wrist. I knew that I've seen that watch before, I just couldn't place it. I didn't want to confront her yet. I wanted to know what else was going behind my back while I was blissfully unaware. I left the apartment after she went to her shower. I went straight to my office and started thinking. She was cheating on me with another man. I needed to find out who this man was. After that, I would have decided what to do with her. I was going to make sure that she paid for her betrayal. She had no right to give me hope for the future and then go behind my back like that. I came home later that evening. This time, she was waiting for me. She told me that she missed me. She kissed me and gave me the same smile, which made me feel like I won the world. I let her kiss me as my heart was consumed by a mix of anger and heartache. Everything went normal. We had dinner and then went to sleep. I didn't sleep that night. I kept thinking what was going behind this gorgeous double face of hers. If she wanted someone else, why did she tell me that she wants to get married to me? I decided I am going to figure it all out. Next morning in my office, I talked to my security head to install a CCTV camera at my apartment. I even asked him to install one in my bedroom. I wasn't going to let her go without knowing everything. I instructed them to install it quickly when she wasn't at home. The cameras got installed when she was out shooting some campaigns. Now I just had to wait and see what happens. I watched her coming back home from work, her assistant trailing her. They were talking about something, I guessed work-related. Then he left after dropping her off. I kept waiting, but nothing happened. No guy entered the premises. My fiancé also seemed pretty normal. I was confused, but decided it's better to keep an eye on her. I kept our relationship just the way it used to be. I kept paying her hefty credit card bills. I didn't want her to know that I knew about her secret till I figured out who the guy was. Days passed by, but nothing happened. I started getting more frustrated. I felt as if I had hallucinated her with someone else. I was almost convinced that it was just my hallucination. We were having breakfast when her assistant joined us. I asked him to pass me the juice when my eyes fell on his wrist. It was the same watch I saw that day. This couldn't be a mere coincidence, I thought to myself. I also noticed that it was a pretty expensive watch. I didn't know how he was affording it on the income of a personal assistant. My head was full of thoughts, emotions, and questions, and I didn't have an answer to any of those. If my fiancé was cheating on me with her assistant, why didn't they do anything after that day? They looked so platonic on camera that I couldn't even have guessed it. I finally found the missing piece, but it still felt like that I'm missing a lot of things. I needed to figure everything out before removing her from my life. I wasn't a person who made rash decisions. I needed to think about everything properly. I decided that I need to find more about her assistant. I never paid enough attention as to what they were doing. All I knew was that he was 20 years old and hired by her modeling agency. I contacted her modeling agency, and that call left me stunned and even more confused than I was before. Her modeling agency didn't hire him. They didn't even know who he was. She lied to me. It shouldn't have surprised me, but it did. I started finding out more about him, and everything that I came to know kept surprising me continuously. His apartment was leased in the name of my fiancé. She got the apartment the same time this guy came to work for her. She also paid his credit card bills. It wasn't making sense at all. Why was she giving money to this guy? I had enough of this nonsense, and I needed to know the truth. I called her up and told her that I need to discuss something with her while her assistant is present. She seemed hesitant but agreed. I met them at home. Both of them were quite anxious as to what I had to say. I asked him if he liked working for her. He seemed shocked by my question but then nodded his head. I then asked him if he liked our home. He nodded again. I asked him another question about food and got the same reply. I then asked him, "Did you like sleeping with my fiancé on my bed?" He was about to nod but then realized what the question was. Both of them turned red and looked at each other while also looking at me. "What are you talking about?" my fiancé asked, her voice lacking the confidence it always has. "I'm talking about the very same thing you did behind my back," I told them quietly. It was confirmed now that she was cheating on me. It was best to know the entire truth at once than getting hurt again after some time. "Explain something to me, honey. Why is my fiancé getting a house on lease for a guy she claims to not know?" I said quietly, but even I could hear the anger in my voice. "How did you know?" she asked, surprised by the information I just presented to her. I told them to not waste time and to keep speaking. Turns out that I've been living a complete lie. Our entire relationship was nothing more than a scam. As she told me the truth, maybe for the first time since I knew her, I felt my chest hurting all over again. She was in an arrangement with this guy where she would take care of all his expenses. This arrangement began before she started dating me. They had a physical relationship. She would take care of his expenses and he would be with her when she wanted. She only came into my life to use me for my money. Everything in our relationship was planned by her. She only spilled that wine on me to come closer to me the first time we met. She knew I was in a relationship, but she still wanted to be with me. Everything after that, which I thought was sweet and genuine, was carefully strategized by her. She was never in love with me. She just needed me because she knew her modeling career won't last forever and needed someone reliable to lean on. I was that person for her. I listened to her as she told me how she proposed to me because she was afraid I would break up with her just like I broke up with my last girlfriend, and that would have ruined her plan. Also, being my wife would have given her unlimited access to my money. I couldn't believe her at once, but I knew she was telling the truth. She told me she didn't do anything with him at our home after that day because she had a suspicion that I had installed cameras when she came back from shoot. She just couldn't find them. She knew she couldn't look for them as well because then it would become obvious to me. They decided to act professional in my home even in my absence just to fool me. Her admission was so shocking that I needed to hold myself so I wouldn't fall to the floor. I gave her everything I have and this is how she chose to repay me. I told her to get out of my house before I kicked them out. All my life I worked hard to build myself and my family a good life. But I never thought it would repay me like that. I got played, and why? Because of my wealth. No, I wasn't taking blame for her actions. It wasn't my fault that my fiancé was such a bad person who likes to play with the feelings of others. I was going to make her pay for what she did to me. I hired a private investigator and told him to bring me every information about her and that guy. He started working on it immediately. When I thought nothing could surprise me anymore, it did. I wasn't the only guy she played with for money. She had used various men who were successful in their field to take care of her while she continued her arrangement. I would have forgiven her if she lied to me or if she was apologetic as to what she had done. But I wasn't going to forgive her for playing me from the start of our relationship. She was using me as a pawn in her elaborate game and I refused to let it go. She had to face the consequences of her actions. I was going to make sure that she faced every bit of it. I wanted to see her suffer the same way she made me suffer, or maybe even worse. She had given me so many surprises recently that I thought she was worth one herself. I worked on that surprise, day and night. I didn't want to leave anything out. I wanted it to be perfect from all angles. I called my connections to know about her latest show. She was going to model in it as the showstopper. She loved being the center of attention, and my surprise would make her center of attention all her life. Everywhere she'll go, people will recognize her. The day of the show couldn't have come any longer. I was waiting for this day for so many days. I never heard from my fiancé after she left my apartment with that guy. But I was going to meet her at her show. She told me that she hated that I didn't attend her shows, and here I was. The show began and everything went normally. The runway had a screen with a projector behind it. It zoomed in on the models as they walked the runway. I sat there patiently as my ex-fiancée made her way to the runway. Instead of zooming in on her, the screen showed evidence of her cheating on me with a 20-year-old guy. The crowd gasped, but I knew there was more to come. The screen continued showing pictures of her with different men and how she lived on their money and kept on cheating them. Her face went pale as she stood on the runway frozen, not knowing what to do. The surprise was worth it after all. I wanted her to feel the hurt that she had caused me. Everyone in the audience started talking among themselves. People questioned her character and integrity. The news reporters were busy taking pictures, making sure they didn't leave anything for their newspaper's deadline. The staff escorted her out of the runway as she stood there without moving. I knew that she didn't see this coming. My work was done here, I thought to myself, and left.